Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to Introduction of Business Organizations. You're either taking me in an online class or a face-to-face class, either at the College of Lake County or Harper College. Look me up if you just happen to find me on YouTube. Call up. This helps the college, helps the publisher, and it also helps by ask for my name, ask what courses I'm teaching, and that's how I get more courses to teach. I'm a contractor for both colleges or an adjunct instructor, and so it brings money. I'm advertising. Okay, so let's look at it. Today, this is a series of, you're taking the introduction to organizations or corporate organization or business organizations class. Remember, always, if it's not at the two colleges I'm teaching, any community colleges, you get a good return on your investments. You have a lot of business owners, a lot of employees, or even people in the community learning the foundational aspects of business. As your business grows, when I'm a sole proprietor, I don't need much structure. I need structure, but I understand it's all in here. I bring in a partner in, now I have to communicate to him or her. As the organization grows and grows, more people coming in, I have to adjust to my structure. I have to change my structure. Like when I was single, I only had one room. When I got married, I had to go find another room. We had to share certain things. Then when you had kids, so you have more people coming in. And look at the same rationale for business. So as it grows, you have different structures. We'll be talking about bureaucratic structures. We're going to be talking in this lecture here. We'll be talking about departmentalization, tall versus flat, centralized versus decentralized. So let's go into the lecture portion on here. Remember, you already discussed this in class. You've already, or in the forms in Blackboard, you've already utilized software provided by the publishers to learn the materials. My concept maps, you have the second tiers, you put in your own information, and now you're either highlighting or seeing what I missed. I'm going to go over this quickly. You're not going to learn anything about this chapter just from this one lecture, but it gives you a good overview of what's going on. You have to take the course and read the material and everything else. This is just to make sure, as a second reminder, as a summarization of what we've learned, discussed, and you've read. Okay, structuring organizations. Now, if I'm going to do this, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Remember, you've got the maps. You print them out. Should be okay. 300 is about right. Okay, so when I structure an organization, as I'm growing, I have to divide the labor. I have to set up different teams, different departments. Remember, you have different types. You have the whole thing when a business sets up is the first focus should be to meet the customer's needs and satisfaction, deliver on time. And then later on, you may have what we call the maintenance portion of any kind of department to do the recording. And the second part is, meet them on time, is to build the customer promptly. Don't wait at the end of the month. You have to bill them now, and we'll discuss that in finance. Okay, how do I allocate resources? Who does what? Who has which resources as part of economics? Which tasks are assigned? And procedures. Procedures keeps everything else in line. So as a company grows, I don't vary too much from the what do you call it, from the vision or the mission, or the procedures from employees. Because if I have to move one employee from one geographic area to the other, there's going to be some modification depending on the office and where everything's laid out. But procedurally, it's very similar. Okay, in adjusting to new realities, and that's the environmental forces, what's going out there. I have to adjust. And the author just basically talked about changing organization, but I'm looking at changing and learning. I have to learn first and then figure out which parts of the organization I'm going to change. That we'll be talking about later on. Re-engineering, reorganizations, or just basically maybe just closing out or not doing that aspect or that segment of the business because it's not profitable or is too much of an environmental costs to do that type of a business. Okay, so changing learning organizations. And here's the thing: global competition. So I have to change, not only understand my own competitors, but see what's going on from an international perspective coming into my market that hasn't been in there. declining economy, so people are looking more at cost savings. They have limited their disposable income has shrunk down. Faster technological changes. I have to adjust, not just for technological changes, just to have I got the new iPhone. If the other one's still working and does functional and does a good job for you. You only change technology or be aware of technology if it's an interface with your suppliers or your customers, or if it's an improvement to your process or your service. Okay, now customers' expectations. Remember that those customers, high quality, lower cost products. Will you want a faster and friendlier service? And here, when they're looking at learning organizations, they had to change. I think it was FedEx or UPS. You're all looking at it. It's because the mail. Remember, when I look at the internet, there's more internet usage. So when was the last time you received a letter other than a bill or advertising or some kind of advertising marketing thing trying to get your money out of your pocket, which is what businesses do. We'll get that into advertising. You don't get a personal letter. Hi George, how you doing? I didn't see you. You send me an email. Shoot me an email or you text me. So the post office lost a big segment of their market through technological changes, and now they're trying to define themselves, refine themselves. So they're more of a packaging. That's where the money, they like it or not. So they do a lot of other. They're focusing more on bigger items being supplied. Now, so they are going into UPS and FedEx's playground, for lack of a better sandbox. But what's going on is now the new thing is with 3D printers. When you look at FedEx or UPS, they not only deliver, they also do part of the logistic, the warehousing, or maybe some of the assembly, depending on the agreement they have. Because they're a logistic company, not just not like mail. They're the logistic company, so they look at all parts of the logistics of supply chain. And you'll get that later on if you take it at supply chain management. 3D printers means that I may not need all that equipment because I can print it right on site, so I don't have to bring it here. If I guess the material and I could just print it, and I could make a TV. I could make, well, not TV, but a certain item like a lawn chair or something else could be done with those 3D printers are large equipment. We're just looking at little ones. They're industrial grade. So that's something to looking at because they're afraid that the 3D printers, and down the road I may want something. I may have a 3D printer, like a download software, and it'll come up with a cup of coffee, cup or something. Hey, I'm a futuristic. The technology is there. But what you have to look, do I adjust to it now or do I wait till it's too late? So they're looking at buying 3D printers and seeing if it could help in the logistics supply chain process that they're looking at. Where could it make sense so they're not caught off guard? Remember, when you look at IBM, why IBM was the number one in computers, they looked at when people were having personal computers. When you look historically, they said, oh, well, people are going to want the computer at home. It's only for work. And they missed the whole personal computer market. Everyone's got a computer. And now the computers are down to a smartphone. Okay? So now if I look at the model, this is the model, right? Here's the culture. And the biggest thing is, how do I change the culture? Here's the structure. Remember, here's how the organization is structured, bureaucratic or participative or centralized or tall or whatever. You could create this structure, and the processes keep that together. And then the people that come in here, they form the culture. And what happens, you change it because you'll fit in, you'll adjust to the template, and then eventually you bring in people from organizations that have a higher probability that like that type of a culture. Some people, if they come out of the military, they're more of a bureaucratic, very controlled type of environment. Just the military. But there's some organizations that are very bureaucratic, as we'll learn about with Max Weber, we'll talk about, and Fayol. So what's going on? So if is very structured, very centered. So I want to find people who want that. Now there's other individuals. I want to be my own boss. I want to be empowered. I don't want to be told everything else. Just give me the task and I can do it. So those are now that's a different type of organization. It's more decentralized. They think that which is more responsive to the customer base is what you have to look. Everything is looking at the customer. Not that the customer is always right. He is right to a certain cost factor. You could be, if you only spend so much in the business, okay, you're right. I'm not doing everything is legal. Everything else is ethical, good quality. How much do I want to maintain that customer's relationship? If you only bought once or twice, I'm sorry. Now the customer who's always a frequent customer, always buying a lot, I want to give them more I want to retain that relationship because it helps me in the future business, knowing I have this base of income always coming in steadily to a steady base of loyal customers that come back to me, and I do that through a loyalty card or something else. And we'll learn that later on when we talk into marketing. Okay, so now how much has changed, and here, and it's just some numbers. I just throw that up there. You can look at it. You'll remember when you're doing a mind freeze. I'm not going to go through all the cell phone. I'm just going to use cell phone as the biggest one. Look at the use of cell phones. 89% in 2010. It's probably close to 95%, if not more. You know what I'm talking about? Cell phone usage in an increase. Why? Everyone has a cell phone. That's the means of communication. And replacing the traditional telephone. The landlines on the way are a dinosaur going out. It's going to be all true. And even landlines, it goes to a point and it goes to a microwave sender and sends to another location. But if I'm looking at this, so now, what does that tell me? Oh, I'm not going to buy a phone. Apps, business apps. Boom, boom. Everybody got a cell phone. Come in there, have an app. I could track it. Hey, give my advertising. So I have to use a technology that will help my business, and what my customers expect, to remind them about my product or my sales. And then the rest you could read. Remember, you always stop this recording as we go. Okay, now if I look at organizational change, what's happened? This is just real quickly. I'm just going to go mass production, and we already know that everything is made economies of scale. The more you buy, the lower price. Look, the author did. I'm not going to spend too much time at that. So the bottom line is, because I buy it in a larger quantity, I can reduce the average cost of goods. I don't need all the same packaging. I don't need to have separate. I can just buy in one big box. So there's always a cost savings in something. Okay, I'm going to make as many trips back. So if I'm looking at the economies of scale. Okay, now if I look at Fayol's principle, he had several things. Here's what Fayol looks like. Organizations would have no. He basically figured everyone should report to someone, have one leader. If you have, I'm not talking about. We're going to talk about different kind of matrix and everything else, but you still have one leader. A lot of you are a lot of students or a lot of people in retail. So it depends on the shift. You have a shift manager, but you still report certain problems. You go to one person that you're assigned to, and which makes sense. It's easier otherwise. You have mixed instructions. Okay. Okay, so now we got unity of command. So he had the several. I think it was like a sixth concept. Each employee reports to one boss. Clearly, hierarchy. You know who does what, right? The division of labor. You break up the labor functionality. Remember, when it's me doing everything else, fine. When I got a partner in, or he or she, we split up the work. Which one do you want to do? But we still cross-train. We know each other. And if you get more people, you have to divide the labor. You're hiring them just for specific tasks. You know, especially if I got someone who's doing some more of an expensive type of a service, I don't want them doing the bagging or calling up. I will have a lower level employee because it makes more economic and feasible sense. It's efficient and more of effective approach to respond to the customer, and utilize a person who I'm paying a higher cost to do that job functionality that I hired him or her for. Okay? And so always remember, part of the whole thing is, here's the organizational goals, focus on the goals, and we're human, we're looking what's in it for me. That's why we have the rewards and the bonuses at the end, but as long as you meet the goals. So I set the goals and objectives, and here's how I reward you if you achieve them. Okay? Now, the degree of centralization, how centralized, it makes, later on we're going to talk about tall and flat organizations, centralized or decentralized, but how much centralized, where's the authority at? Or do I want it, authorities here takes to be longer, rigid, don't respond to the customers quickly, but what happens is I have better control of the whole process. Depends, but when I'm doing with customers, I have to have more flexibility. I have to be more of a decentralized to adjust to different geographic or market or segments within a certain geographic market or demographic or social graphic, likes or dislikes of a certain customer base or client base that I am providing service or a product to. Okay, so the next one we're going to do, I'm going to look at this Weber. Now Weber is, if I look at, here's how he looks like. Another guy, looks like a little mean, but he's not mean. He just, in those days, if you look at my YouTube, my pictures, I don't look that, guys, we don't smile. So it goes all the way back. Max Weber, German. He is the founder of, not Weber Grills, sometimes I throw that on an exam. He is the founder of the bureaucratic system. Employees just need to do what they're told. he has, remember, back then, when you look at scientific method, everything else was, you do so much, I'll pay you so much, and you just follow the orders. Follow Mayall's principles, controls, trust in management on employees, so there's no empowerment, very bureaucratic organization. Job description, we still utilize that even in a decentralized or non-bureaucratic organization, but what we need is everyone knows exactly what their job is, and that's all you do, and that's it, that's all I hire. I'm just telling Max Weber's conceptual understanding, baseline, staffing promotion based on qualifications, written rules, decision guidelines, very detailed. You either have this or you don't. You're very procedural, very controlled, consistent procedure and regulation policy, and staffing promotions and qualifications. I think I did that twice. Okay, sorry. I took care of that. Those of you who've taken me before or you're looking at that, I'm not reading off a script. This is live, just like I would in the classroom. Okay, now organizational chart. Organizational chart is just a visual device that shows the relationship among people and divides the organizational work to show who reports to who. And here's a pic, and the author did a nice job. So when you're looking at your organization is smaller, you don't have this. But when you're doing from a business, you should have the future department, especially if you're doing a business plan or feasibility. Here's where I'm going future. So someone's going to invest you. They know you don't want to stay small. You're already thinking outside the box, and you're already thinking of potential growth, even though you don't have that position filled. But if you have a new position, where do I fit it in? Who does he or she report to? What process does it make sense? Or should HR be all by itself, or does it should report to marketing or whatever? Or should advertising be reporting to marketing, even though it's the integrated heart that we'll find out of an integrated marketing campaign? But should advertising stand alone? And it depends on you, it depends on the structure, it depends how the importance, depends what you're doing, it depends how, you remember, you're the manager, you're the corporation, or if it's your department, if you look at the department, you're an entrepreneur, or only you're working for a large organization, but you run it the same way. You think outside the box, and you think what makes sense, and the bottom line, what helps either the shareholders, increases the shareholders' wealth, but still also be ethical and socially responsible, at least in the previous chapter. Okay, now bureaucracy's top management makes all the decision. Employees knows what to expect, set of rules. You don't deviate. Bureaucracies can annoy customers because it takes weeks or months to have information passed down. Because you got a hierarchy. You got to go next level, he's not there. Next level, he passes this on. A staff got to review it. So it takes a longer process when you're bureaucratic. But it makes sense. But you're going to find out that your core value, the core procedure should be very structure center. But then your operations or your business units could be decentralized or right, so they're more responsive to what do you call it, to the customer base. So the bureaucratic system, the centralized system, the tall organization will have the rules and everything else, so everyone's looking at the same way. Look at McDonald's, okay? No, just use that as an example, or Burger King, or Wendy's, I don't really care. When you're looking at them, everyone, when I go to any McDonald's or any of them, all the food tastes the same at each one of the same establishment. Very simple. But when I go to each one may have a TV, one may have a little, they may have other things depending on the environment, depending on the cultural taste that the other ones may not have. So I still have some flexibilities, but the core product, the core value, the core direction, the core brand image is the same, and it has enough room for flexibility to give her individuality that that market is looking for. That's what brings them back. Okay, and then we talk about centralization. Here's some of the authority, top delegates decision down, and I don't want to use yelling. I'm looking at it from an employee side, but it caught your eye, right? So it's management, you do this, right? It's coming down. Centralization, more efficiency, simpler distribution, stronger brand image, but it's less responsive, less empowerment, and inter-organizational conflict. Because you forget that, so for my department, and but all the departments make a whole, so you can't have departments fighting because they want to control some assets or resources, or because I get more exposure than they do, or because I don't like, so it's no different. Our organization, so you have to be able to manage that. That's by bringing in a good team manager. Okay, now decentralization. Our authority is delegated down to lower levels, better adaptation to customers, more empowerment. Remember, you can make the decision, faster decision making. When a customer comes in, you don't have it, you can't make a decision, they're just leaving. They're going to your competitors or someplace else. They're out there going to spend the money, and you want to make sure you satisfy them now. Remember, again, how much you want to spend to satisfy them. It's only one item. They've never been in there. You have to make that cost. And with technology, I could pull up your account and say, oh, you only spent $20. I will try to make you whole for $10 and everything else. Oh, I want this as $100,000, $100. No, go to my competitors. They'll love you. Right, the customer's still right, but to a point. I'm still a business. I'm not a nonprofit organization. I'm a business looking at satisfying the customer, which is ethical, responsible, but not the thing to, unless he's a real big customer or something important, right? But then that'll justify I get a higher return. Someone who's has very little exposure with my organization, that's what you get. Fine. You just, you may not come back, but you got to make those decisions. It's business. Okay, it's less efficient because you could change some of them. Complex distribution system. I start losing control as top management. Weaken the corporate image because I may change something. I don't want Ron to look this way. I'll change his color or whatever. Okay, and charts looking at this. And here's the chart. I'm going to go through it. Look at it. If you don't have it, stop it. Look at it and look. And it tells you everything you want on here. I'm trying to keep these under an hour. Because remember, for some of you, this is a good review. And for many of you, this may be your first exposure. Hopefully not. Okay, now span of control. Again, why does the organization change? Remember, as I grow, as the organization, that's what you want. That's good. Growth is good. Unless I want to be a micro, then I got to control the growth. But remember, if I'm growing too fast, I can't satisfy my customers, and all of a sudden it'll be a decline because my quality of my service won't be as good. So, you got to control the growth. But as I'm growing, how many people could I manage? I'm a single sole proprietor, sure, I handle 5, 10, but after a while, I had to manage more individuals. Okay, as you grow, how many people could you manage? And I think the author said 10 or 15. Look, as a manager, superintendent, I may have had 300 people, contractors working. Do I manage 300? No. I would have 4 or 5 direct reports that report to me, and they may have 20 people each, or they may have other people they manage, as team leaders, or lead engineers, or lead salespeople, or lead customer service, or whatever. So they're in the lead position. So when you look at span of control, how many could you directly manage? Okay? And so that's what the span of control is. So if I'm looking at this, now it depends on the optimal number one on. Geez, a lot of errors in my thing. Remember, those who've had me, I'm live. I don't read off a script. So this is like you in the classroom, so I adjusted. Optimal number one can't supervise, okay? Or should supervise. One can or should. Remember? Because some people, I'm going to manage one, but look, everyone else is managing 5. You can manage 5. Depends on what? The capabilities of the manager. Am I a brand new manager or am I a new manager? Capabilities of subordinates, right? And the complexity of the job. All those are factors you have to look at. New employees can take me a little longer. Got to be more directive. Employees that have been there for a while, they already know the process. They know how they could do the work, so I need less and less management. I just have to make sure that that the quality and the work is still there, but I don't have to be involved or more empowered on that. Or they're trained, for lack of better words. I don't like using training. Train a dog, but some training at the beginning you have to have it. But down the road, when we're talking about learning organizations or adaptive organization, we're talking about educated individuals that have critical thinking skills and can look at the process, look at the situation, look at the environmental, internal forces, and able to see how I can make this, or what we talked about earlier, the SWOT, strength, weakness, and opportunities, or threats, and see that I see this as an opportunity, and I can maximize on this and bring additional revenue, or I can see a threat coming in there, and I can minimize the risk by taking preventive actions now, and so I'm not I'm more on offense instead of on a defense. Offense means I'm going after a defense. I'm just waiting and hoping no one hurts me. For those of you who aren't into sports. Okay? Okay, so now the different span of control. You have broad when work is standardized, flat organization, reduced costs, more responsive. So it's more of a general. Fewer chances for promotion, overworked managers, and loss of control. Too many. Those are the negative. Now the narrow control, and this span narrows at higher levels of the organization, gets smaller and smaller. Tall organizations, more control by top management, more chances for promotion, greater specializations. Okay, let me make that a cap. Remember, these are just my notes. I create these from the reading material and from the publisher's PowerPoints, and pick up and just bring it up in a different format for you, so you could look at this. And it's in one way to seeing 60 slides on one or two sheets. Okay, less empowerment, higher cost, and less responsive to customers. And if I'm looking at the trend, expand control less, expand control less middle managers. So I'm reducing the control from the middle managers, and more empowerment and technology, because I could either track my workers, they have to report, look at UPS, they go real quickly, or FedEx, and I might not saw them, all of a sudden I get an email, your package has been delivered, there it is, and then I see the truck coming up instantly like that. You don't even have to type in and just scan it, boom, it sends it to my email, your package is at your door. So if you're someplace else, you know, hey, I could pick it up. If you're in an area where you think the package is going to be stolen or picked up, you just pick it up instantly, or you could communicate right away to the driver, hey, you're in the area, please come back, I got a package for you. And that's usually for I'm a business, and okay. So now let me just close this one off. And now we're going to go into tall versus flat. And if I'm looking tall, look at centralized organization. It's very tall, very bureaucratic. But that's like your skeleton. My skeleton is my centralized organization. All organization has to have some kind of a centralized aspect to it once you're growing. Smaller, you're all in one, but you start having different departments, different geographic, different expansions, or international subsidiaries. You still have that structure, and then you do the flatter when it deals with the customers. And let's go in here. Remember, you can always stop the videos anytime, turn off my voice, but the more senses, the more, and you're looking, writing, and taking notes, the higher probability you'll be able to retain that from a lower, from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. So you could utilize this when you need it. You could retrieve the information. Your brain is a computer. They say you only use 10%. Man, I don't know what I'd do with the other 90%. I better start using more of it before, but you just expand its muscles, okay? So that's kind of the, so we got a lot of potential for growth and learning. Okay, tall organization, many layers, communication distorted, high cost of support management, narrow span of control. We've talked that. Now, flat organization, on there. Remember, flat organization is more of tall is like this. So I got a lot of layers to, communication. I can go all to the boss. Good for promotion. I got the next layer. But when I go in a flat organization, so centralized control, my subsidiaries or my branches or offices outside from the corporate structure should be decentralized. Flatter organization, with less levels, more better communications, quicker response time. So I don't have to have all the procedures, all the, it's at one level, I only got 2 layers, and I can make the responses real quickly, make the adjustments instead of going down through 20 different layers in a bureaucratic or a tall organization. That's the trend, the more flatter, more, as long as you're more to with a customer and you're able to respond. Fewer layers of management. So how do I motivate them? That's when you move from different areas or disciplines. I may be in marketing, now I'm in advertising. I may be in construction, now I'm in engineering. Even though I'm not an engineer, but managing that or doing some functional work in engineering, you still have to understand the two. I'm cross-trained. So I understand not only how to do, and most of the construction individuals, I could teach them real lightly how to do basic modifications. They're not doing the whole plan; they're doing some modifications. So I don't have to have an engineer to modify their, for lack of better words, their work order. They could do that because they understand the different functionality. So I'm saving time. to the customer and flatter, and I'm extending the knowledge of my construction individual since they got to communicate, and then if vice versa, I'll bring an engineer into the construction department and teach him and her so they could do some modification and maybe fill in for a field supervisor when he or she's not there, or answer the question. So that's cross training, but you see the flexibility. It's a little more flexible. I don't have engineering department. I have an engineer construction individual that does both. So now I just eliminate. I didn't eliminate any of the disciplines. I combine the two disciplines into one. You're like some big jobs I need strictly all engineering, all construction, but on the smaller jobs I could get away with an engineering construction type of individual. There's a lot of companies doing that. Okay, so, but I could do that with a flat because I don't have to have a whole department. I want to be able to justify the time for one or two engineers, but I could justify for two engineer and construction type of individual. And disadvantage, and here's again the chart. You could look at this, read it. I'm not going to go through it. We've already been through it in the classroom in a discussion. But still stop it, freeze it, and because a lot of students utilize this also for studying for my exams. Okay, departmentalization is traditional way. Advantages: employees are specialized, skills develop, economies of scale, good coordination. Some disadvantages: lack of communication between functions. When I say functions or departments, for lack of better words, employees identify with the department and not with the company. Response to external change is slow, narrow specialists, and a lot of groupthink. We start thinking the same thing. It makes sense, but where does it make sense? And how departmentalization and how and the procedures that we talked before will dictate that for you. Okay, ways to departmentalize. You could do it by the product, which is really one way of doing it. So I'm an expert in a product. You could do it by functionality. If I look at marketing, trade books, college, production, manufacturing, finance, and this is utilized out of the book. Geographic. You could do it by customer groups. Again. Here's you could look at it. We discussed that in class by customers, commercial, manufacturers, institutions, vice president, by process, look by production manager, by cutters, by driver. You could break it down however you want. The more you understand the process, the more you understand your customers. I could target market those. Your whole thing is to bring money in revenue or clientele that's sustainable, that keeps the business going in good times and bad times. I want those out there, but I want my steady core customers that are loyal to my process because of my quality, because of the relationship with the sales, with the president, with the manufacturing, and all those are involved in the relation. Just because I'm in manufacturing, I go out and meet the people. Hey, we produced a product for you. I'm the supervisor. Any product problem, call me. I've built a relationship. Now, the other companies may not do that, so it's not worth it. But when it comes to hard time, I always could talk to George. I'd rather deal with him. He's a little bit more costly, but the value and the remake cost well justifies the higher cost. I don't have to restock or remake or bring a customer. All those are costs that are embedded that people don't realize when I have to restock or retool something that's already shipped and they got to remake it. It costs me more to remodify it, or I take a loss on that. Okay, 4 ways to structure an organization. You do by line. And again, here's the main one. And you could have a combination. I'm not going to say one or the other. Remember, so I'm going on here. I'm just trying to make it so you can see it. And I'm always in here, my little picture in here. I could go just a touch a little bit. Line organization, authority and communications, running from the top down. We already did it. Direct two-way lines of responsibility. Everyone reports to one supervisor. There's no specialists. There are no specialists, legal or accounting. It's just all one organization. Human resource, information technology work together. Now, the most organizations are smaller ones may be this way. But most organizations are line and staff, and then you're looking at the line personnel are workers responsible directly achieving organizational goals. And like marketing employees include production and everything else. These are people under or managers on there have authority to make policy decisions underneath your disciplinary or functionality requirements. Line personnel have authorities to make decisions. Responsible directly achieving company goals. And okay, I got that one. I just repeated that. Okay, sorry. I apologize. I'm cleaning my stuff up. Remember, I create these mind maps from you from the readings and also from other information provided to make it easier. Employees who advise staff are just my staff, assist line personnel meeting their goals, include marketing, research, legal advising, IT, and human resources. When I look at some of the staff position, if you look at management, they would talk staff position been reduced. I mean, management levels are down. They're not really down. It's, I don't need staff as much as staff. The technology is there that does it for me, or I could access the technology. I don't need somebody to run a report. I could look at it real quickly. If it's set up properly, I have what they call my dash cam. It tells me I could look at any foreman, any individual, and see how productive he or she is today and over the long term, and seeing if there's a trend of their decline of production or the quality of their work. So, but staff is there. Somebody's got to set it up for me. You don't want to spend money for someone else managing to enter names or some kind of data. You hire someone that has that expertise because it's going to take them a lot less time and it's a lot less errors because they know what they're doing. And have me do what I do well, and that's managing individuals. And here's the graph, when, again, when you look at different staff. So I'll bring this out to freeze it, look at it. You see the line, and then you see the staff positions with the dotted lines. Okay? Okay, now the next one we have is 3 is the matrix organization. Now, matrix organization and some companies are just set up that way. Later on, in different classes, you find out it's like a virtual organizations or viral organization. Let's look at matrix. Specialists from all different parts to work on a specific project. I have a problem. I got to bring construction in there. I got to bring engineering in there. I may bring marketing in there because I'm going to sell this new product, or I got to do some damage control. So and also bringing in public relation. I may bring everyone in there to resolve that specifically. And then here's an issue, and then all of a sudden we break it up and then we go back. If you look at something happens, some big crime, just everything you read about is crime or something going on. But if there's a major offense that the small town can't do it, they bring people from different FBI, bring everybody else in there to try to resolve the issue. So they're matrix with different specialties and work on a specific problem. They still remain part of the line back up on top. Special product communication, emphasis on product development. Okay, so they still they kind of report to 2, but they really report to the 1. And then if you don't do well or you don't play nicely on this matrix, on this project, someone who's in charge of that matrix or that project will report to your line supervisor, and that's where when your performance goes in there for your review. You can say, well, I thought I did all this. Yeah, but didn't do anything there. You were a pain in the butt, for lack of better words. So remember, the one person you report to, even though your boss isn't there, you still have the technology. There's still a communication between that leader and your immediate supervisor. Do the best job. That's how you get promoted within a larger organization, or even in a smaller organization. Always be a problem solver, not the problem. Okay, so we have that. Now, some of the advantages. Managers have flexibility in assigning people to projects. Interorganizational cooperation and teamwork is encouraged. Creative solutions to product development problems are produced. Efficient use of organizational resources. Some of the disadvantages: costly, confusion, requires good communication, but long-term problems. Teams are not permanent. Remember, we discussed this in class. I'm just overviewing it, so in case you see it on an exam or when you're doing your feasibility plan for me for the business or venture, whatever you're going to come up with as a team, you'll be utilizing some of these concepts. And there's a lot of them. Don't worry. Remember, I'm trying to make it so you could remember them. Okay, president, vice president, so you have that. Okay, now the last one is your cross-functional teams. Cross-functional self-managed teams. From different departments, I bring them in, right? Who work together on a long-term basis. Way to fix problem of matrix style teams is to establish long-term teams. If I only know it's a temporary team, I may not put my heart in it. I'll be out of here in a few weeks or a month. But if I know this is going to be for the next 2 years and I'm responsible, remember, just because I put you on the team, you should have certain goals, certain objectives, certain plateaus that the team, even on a cross-functional team, should be achieving, should be looking. So who are they focusing in that? Okay, but it's a long-term team, so you have longer commitments. You build that relationship. But if I meet you for a couple of times, I kind of nice to you, but you remember we're going to talk later, and you take me for management at either of the schools. You're going to go through the introduction and the storming, the norming, and then basically hopefully the performing. And some people don't, there's certain stages that teams go through. So the longer you're with them, the better. I share this group thing, but you always once in a while throw somebody else in there to kind of stir up that creative thinking, so we don't become stagnant and we always done it this way. You need that creativity, and how you do that by bringing one or two new members into this cross-functional team. So you're not disrupting the whole process. You're just bringing a new idea that the management feels is important. Empower employees to work closely with suppliers, customers, and other figures, others to figure out how to create better products. Better products means more customers, more revenue. Okay, building a successful teams, important conditions for small teams. You have to have a clear purpose. Let me just close that off. You have to have clear goals, correct skills, mutual accountability, and shift roles when appropriate. Look, sometimes we all want to be leaders, and some of us have our own way to do it. You're in a team. I'm a superintendent. I know the construction came out of the construction side, had the marketing, the advertising, very well. And I have engineering underneath me or customer service, but I may not know their process per se, but I know how to deal with people. The engineering. So now it's just an engineering problem. You don't know how it fits conceptually, have engineering, know the prints, but do I know the real specifics of an engineering question and how credible am I without any degrees? Even though I may know it, will the team believe me? So what I'm trying to say at that point, my knowledge is limited to experience and what I've learned on my own. Okay, so at that point, when it comes to engineering, even though my direct report reports to me, I will redirect that question or that problem or to the engineer who is the expert. He or she will try to come up with a resolution, and then they'll bring it back to me. Remember, as a middle manager and higher up, I am the one that looking at the whole conceptual, how does all the pieces fit, and he or she's going to say, here's how we resolve the problem. I will either say yes, give my blessings. The Pope's coming into town when I'm recording now in the next couple of days. So I'll either give him my yes, I agree with this, or no, because it works well for your engineering, but what ramifications will it have for the other departments because of the procedural change that you've done to your department to resolve this issue? I may have other issues with other departments. That's your job. They resolve it, they set it, and they try to find. And then maybe I'll throw them in a matrix team with construction, other departments that may be inputted because of what engineering has come up to resolve their one issue or issues. Okay, real businesses. Let's go on this one. We're going to go on here. I have a lot in here. Let's go with networking. Networking. Link organizations and allow them to work together, right? When I look at, and here I'm talking about networking with community, networking, I'll put that in there. Because this other networking, we're looking at personnel. So I say networking computers or / technology. How's that? I knew I spelled that wrong. I get a little weak on that. Okay, so we'll have that. Okay, and computers technology. Using communication technology, most companies are no longer self-sufficient. They're a part of a global business network. Because it makes sense. I get the experts to come in here at my own IT. I do so much, but I could either bring AT&T, Verizon, or whatever. They all have some kind of network capability, or I bring the larger ones into the corporation that set up a network communication, and that's their expertise. And it's better off bringing them. I still have my own IT individual, but to do the more complex programming and everything else, I utilize them. And my ITs just make sure I'm not being ripped off, that they're doing their work because they understand that they can communicate the same language as an IT to another IT individual. One engineer to another engineer I may understand it, use it, but they have a different mentality, a different cultural, a different way of looking at things, a different perception through their lens of eyes. It's not wrong. We all see things in different ways because of our discipline's a little different. So we are more focused in one way and they're focused another way. As a manager or as a middle manager, you have to be more of a generalist, understand all functionalities. So in a flat organization, I'm moving to different departments. So even though I may not be an expert in that department, there's always a direct report that helps me, but I understand the culture and how the pieces fit together instead of just looking at a paper and an organizational chart. Okay, real time, present moment or actual time in which things take place. Transparency as a company is also open to other companies that with electronic information is shared with companies where one. And if I look at open, and I look at Jewel or Mariano's, when you look at this suppliers, either in the morning, it's, hey, where's this? I don't know. I'm only bringing in bread. I'm only bringing in this. I'm only the dairy man. I mean, what are they doing? How do they know how much to replace when they come in there? Because electronically, when they scan it to the point of purchase, remember in the stores and they got the barcodes, they scan it, it's already going against the inventory that was in that store. And the route man already knows, hey, we already sold so many milk, make sure we're almost all out, put extra milk than the normal 2 or 3%. Because normally they'll have the route, they know how much on which days they need more supplies because they'll have the historical trend. But the trends change it, and how do they know that? It's not like they're coming, oh man, I wish I would have brought more. They already know before the delivery because it's cost efficient. They already know, and they already know which goods have to be expired, which ones they got to take off. But that information, they know when they can say, hey, look, Jewel or Mariano, we'll give you a buy one, get one free because they're ready to expire. Let's get rid of the inventory. It helps both of us. Either way, you know what I mean? Your profit margin is down, but in the long run, it's a good customer satisfaction. So that loss, we turn around to a promotional campaign, and everything else works well. And then we don't get stuck with the inventory, and now we're effective, efficient, and we bring the new expiration date. A lot of people, including myself, will look at the dates to see, hey, how much time I have when I bring it in. If I need it right away, I don't care, I got another day. If I know it's going to sit at home for another week, then I'm looking for the expiration date to be a little bit further. Okay, and now you got virtual corporation, a temporary network or organization made up of replaceable firms that join and leave as needed. If I'm a wedding planner, do they have Polish bands? You know, I'm a band. I got a band, my own band. He plays Polish rock music, heavy metal, whatever to back in the music. I'm just throwing that out because you don't know. I'm a wedding planner. So what I do, I bring people in as needed. Or I'm an event planner for a business. What do I need? I am basically a general contractor, and let's look at that. And then I bring people as I need, and then I bring them back out. And I do it to a virtual office. They never come in there. We do once in a while. Our meetings are all virtual. You got Go meetings. There's a lot of different technologies. You got iTunes. Apple FaceTime, or you got Skype, or you got things where I could talk and show the presentations and have a synchronized communication with my customer or my other firms that I brought into. To satisfy this customer's needs, or okay. And here's what it looks like. Production. I think they use a production film, and I made this a bit too big. Hang on a second. It's slow today. I got a lot of things open. I gotta bring it down. There we go. Okay. So, and we've talked about that. Here's the core firm. I bring them in as I need them, and I don't own any of the departments. They're not mine. They're just firms, depending on what I'm doing at the time. Okay? And look at it again. So you have that. You got benchmarking. What's benchmarking? Compares the organization. Let me close the other one off. Benchmarking. What is benchmarking? Compares the organization practices and processes and products against the world's best. If you're the organization they're benchmarking, make sure you're always at the top, because that's who everyone's benchmarking. Everyone's benchmarking for a long time was Apple's product. Remember what Apple, iPhone. But if you look overall, you've got Samsung came in. Whether they did something legally or illegally on some of the apps or some of the programs, that's a big legal case if those who are following it. But they're not taking a big market share away from Apple. They're larger than Apple in global in some of the markets. But everyone still benchmarks Samsung against Apple product for creativity and innovation. So I am still, why do, if I'm just like Apple, shit, why do I need you? I want Apple. And I'm just going one, or I'm just like Samsung. I want Samsung. You know, when you have the other ones coming in. So you always want to be, if you're at that top, you know if you've reached the things where people are. And how do you get that benchmarking? Good process, good organization. Why would I benchmark against someone who's not productive, not making money? And, I benchmark. Here's what you do. They do have a benchmark. If your quality is like this, you're already your rating goes down. So benchmarking always against the number one, and that's what you should strive for, to be the benchmarker. Okay, core competencies. Functions an organization can do well or better than any organization in the world, or the company can't match the competitor. Not match a competitor, they may try to outsource. And outsourcing is not going overseas to Japan or China or anything else. Outsource could be to another process, because I got too many people in small business. I may outsource to my competitor. When you outsource to your competitors, or if a competitor says, hey, George, we got this work. Could you send some of your employees here to work for me, and we'll pay them. You never do the work to send your employees there, because they may like it better there and not come back. You take the work from there and you control it, and you control your employees, but you're working for someone else. And it's the same thing. You gotta be careful when you're doing it within an organization. If you release someone to another department, he or she may not want to come back to yours. And then you got to find somebody else, especially if it's a good employee. A lot of times people don't release the good employees. Okay, adaptive to change. And I didn't say that sarcastically, because this is my good employee. He's making it. If he goes someplace else, he may want to find somebody. He may like it there, and he may want to make the transfer. I want to develop them, so maybe on the short term, or an employee that you don't want to give them the worst, because they're going to say, "Oh, geez, George hired these people." You want to at least help them, because and then there I go. Remember, I just basically did the same thing. Why departments don't want to share, because they're thinking about themselves instead of the whole. I caught myself on that. You see how easy it is to fall into that trap? Good learning, okay? Okay, culture. Adapting to change. You have to know your culture. Hard to change. Restructuring and empowerment. An inverted organization. You just the employees are first, and top management at the bottom. So now I got to change the culture, and I could change it by bringing, I teach organizational behavior. How do I change the culture of a company? Is by the people I hire, I bring them in there, and slowly they'll change. Like yeast will change, good or bad. But which way do I want the company to go? I bring you an individual. My policies and procedures will basically help you, or I do what they call restructuring. Redesigning to it can be more, redesigning to it can be more effective. Resistance by employees. Let me go this way. Resistance by employees. Redesigning can be more effective and efficient. But you're going to have to understand, employees can resist. We're people of habit. All the people, I do a lot of change and everything else. I'm still a person of habit. But how do I do just a process? How do I change? If you look at the change agent learning organization, if I'm always changing small steps, people, it's easier to take the larger step. If I'm in a bureaucratic, I haven't changed for the last 20 years, and I make any kind of changes, people have strong resistance, and maybe that's when I change the whole culture, bringing other people in. When I look at an inverted organization, and I got to think, organization has contact people at the top. A manager's job is to assist and support frontline supervisors. Okay, the CEO at the bottom of the organizational chart, and on this one, his manager's job. He doesn't boss them around. He doesn't boss them. He tries to help them. He's like a consultant. Here's the graph. Okay, you can look at that. I'll leave it up for a few seconds. Remember, hit the pause, and then you should be fine. Okay, now I got engineering. If I look at engineering, let me see what I have here. Hang on a second. If I look at re-engineering, there's radical changes. Employees make more decisions, new incentives. If I look at new culture, less need for close supervision, more formal, informal, and the grapevine, the nerve system. You can't get rid of it. Okay? Are we done? And the last one I have is organization, widely shared values. Some of the best Just turn off that. Hang on a second. Okay. Widely shared values within an organization that foster unity. I'm just organizational culture. Here's how you want to develop organizational culture. Let me just lost my train of thought for a second. Okay, widely shared values within an organization that foster unity, cooperation to achieve common goals. Some of the best organizational cultures emphasize service. All right, culture is shown in stories, tradition, and myths. You know, those of you have to do orientation. You have a formal, details line of responsibilities. Right, formal system is often slow and bureaucratic, but it helps guide the lines of authority. No organization can be effective without a formal and informal organization. What's an informal? Remember, there's a life outside the regular procedures that everyone follows. It's a systems of relationships that develop spontaneously as employees meet and form relationships. Informal organization helps foster what? Camaraderie, teamwork, and among employees. Informal systems is too unstructured and emotions on its own. It's got to be managed. May also be powerful in resisting managerial directives. Remember, I have informal leaders. Like when we talk about leadership, we have formal and informal leaders. Informal leader is just as strong as a formal leader. So as a formal leader, I understand I have to convince the informal leader. They could be union reps or someone who's got expertise. This is the right course of action. They look up at them because of their expertise or their relationship, and they trust them, and they may not trust the management or may not trust you as a manager or supervisor. So if I can convince him, the informal leaders, just as powerful. And the grapevine is an informal communication system. You can't get rid of it. You have to be able to work with it and know how to communicate within the grapevine and put your 2 cents in or your input without doing a formal process. You can't get rid of it, but you're aware of what's going on there. All right? So that took care of that. Let's see. I think we've done everything. Oh, geez, we did pretty good. And hopefully let me just balance this. Okay. Let me just come in here. I'll bring it down a little smaller. Remember, I'll make it larger. I'll be okay, now let's bring this down to, I think it was 150, so you could see it, and I'll do the conclusion. All right, we covered a lot today in this class. It's just one of mine. We're only in chapter 8. I think there's 20 chapters, 21 chapters out of the whole thing. I know for some of you, I've got some of your emails, some of your comments. It seems like a lot of information. Remember, you're learning in this introduction to business corporation a new language. It's English, but it's a business language. Different terminologies, different phrases, different conceptual, different ideas. I'm not teaching consumer behavior. I'm teaching you as a business, both profit or non-profit. You're taking this as a refresher course if you're a manager coming up here for your professional growth, or you're taking this for the first time to understand it. Overall, you'll note I set up the class, the exams, the Connect Learn Smart software that's provided to publisher required for this class, the discussion board, the lectures, your feasibility project, working as a team. We're taking everything else you're learning, the concepts, the vocabulary, and we're able to, how do they apply them in real life. You're not going to be an expert in any of this, but it's a good solid foundation so you know how all the parts work. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is Introduction to Business Organizations. Please look me up and sign up for some of my courses. And if not, hope this was beneficial. And if you're not in the area where I teach, either at College of Lake County or Harper College in the Business Social Division, so go to any community college. You're already paying taxes. They're there. All the majority of, I want to say close to about 80% of the classes are transferable to four-year universities, so you can get all your electives and get a good understanding of foundation. So when you go into your, if you decide to expand in your learning or academic journey, you have a good solid foundation. All right, so I'll see you online or in one of my classes, or in the next time we meet.